Jaime Lannister has not yet met Lady Stoneheart on the page, but the books have been steering him toward her for a long time. By the end of A Feast for Crows, Jaime is riding into the Riverlands under false pretenses, led there by Brienne of Tarth. Brienne claims she has found Sansa Stark. The reader knows this is not true. At the same time, Lady Stoneheart is already active in the Riverlands, hanging Freys, Lannister soldiers, and anyone she associates with the Red Wedding. These two storylines are not parallel by accident, they are converging. George R.R. Martin rarely engineers meetings this carefully, unless they are meant to resolve multiple arcs at once. This is not just about revenge, and it is not just about guilt. It is about oaths that were broken, oaths that were kept, and whether truth still has any weight when the person judging you has already decided you are guilty. Hello everyone, and welcome to Storyteller's Codex. Here we delve deep into the rich lore of The Lord of the Rings, A Song of Ice and Fire, and the vast worlds beyond. On this channel, we blend the soothing power of cutting-edge technology with the timeless knowledge of dedicated storytellers. That's us, the voices behind the Codex. Settle in, relax, and enjoy. Lady Stoneheart is not Catelyn Stark restored. She is what remains after Catelyn's death, shaped by time, trauma, and resurrection. Her throat was cut so deeply that she cannot speak properly. Her body is partially decomposed. Her expressions are described as rigid and unnatural. Most importantly, her judgment has narrowed. When Brienne encounters her, Stoneheart does not ask for explanations. She presents accusations and demands answers only to confirm guilt. One of the clearest lines describing her mindset is when Brienne realizes that mercy is no longer part of Stoneheart's thinking. Stoneheart leads the Brotherhood without banners very differently than Beric did. Beric attempted to preserve justice as a concept. Stoneheart enforces punishment based on association. If someone is connected to the Freys, the Lannisters, or the Red Wedding, that connection alone is enough. This is the version of Catelyn Stark that Jaime Lannister is heading toward. The Jaime Lannister who might meet Lady Stoneheart is not the man who pushed Bran Stark from a tower. Jaime's captivity, maiming, and release fundamentally change how he understands himself. Losing his hand forces him to confront the gap between how he was seen and who he actually is. By the time he returns to the Riverlands, Jaime is actively trying to keep his oaths. He refuses to take Riverrun by treachery. He ends the siege without bloodshed. He sends Edmure Tully away alive. Jaime even reflects on the vows he once mocked, thinking that a knight who keeps his word may matter more than one who wins glory. This matters because Lady Stoneheart judges Jaime based on the man he was. The books, however, have spent several chapters showing us the man he is becoming. That tension is the core of this meeting. Jaime and Catelyn Stark are bound by a web of oaths, betrayals, and consequences that neither fully controlled. Jaime's actions lead indirectly to Ned Stark's death by destabilising the political situation in King's Landing. From Catelyn's perspective, Jaime Lannister represents the collapse of her entire world. At the same time, Catelyn herself releases Jaime, trusting him to return her daughters in exchange for his freedom. This decision haunts her in life and defines her in death. Jaime swears to return Sansa and Arya. He fails, not entirely by choice, but failure is still failure. Lady Stoneheart remembers this broken oath. She does not remember the context. She does not remember the limits Jaime faced. She remembers only that she showed mercy once, and it cost her everything. Brienne of Tarth is the reason this meeting can happen at all. Brienne swears an oath to Catelyn Stark to protect her daughters. She spends the entirety of A Feast for Crows trying to fulfill that vow, even when everyone else considers it pointless. When Brienne is captured by the Brotherhood, Stoneheart forces her to choose between her oath to Catelyn and her loyalty to Jaime. Brienne chooses to live, but at a price. She leads Jaime into Stoneheart's reach. This is not betrayal in the usual sense. It is the collision of incompatible promises. Brienne keeps faith with the dead because the living have failed her. Through Brienne, George R.R. Martin physically brings Jaime and Lady Stoneheart into the same narrative space. From this point on, avoidance is no longer possible. Lady Stoneheart does not judge people by intent or circumstance. She judges them by association. When Brienne is brought before her, Stoneheart does not ask what Brienne has done. She lists names, Freys, Lannisters, companions of those involved in the Red Wedding. Guilt is assumed first, questioned later. This approach is consistent across her actions in the Riverlands. The Brotherhood hangs Freys regardless of individual involvement. Even men who were not present at the wedding are executed for their name alone. The text makes this explicit. When Brienne witnesses the hanging, she realises that the Brotherhood no longer investigates crimes. They enforce collective punishment. This matters for Jaime because his guilt in Stoneheart's eyes is absolute. He is a Lannister. He is the Kingslayer. He was released on an oath that was never fulfilled. Under Stoneheart's system, that is sufficient. No explanation Jaime offers would address the standard she's applying, because her justice no longer evaluates explanations at all. Lady Stoneheart does not remember Jaime as the man the reader knows in A Feast for Crows. She remembers the man who pushed her son from a tower, even if she never knew the full truth of that act. She remembers him as the man who sat smiling while Ned Stark was imprisoned. She remembers him as the Lannister who was freed on her mercy and failed to return her daughters. Her memory stops there. Jaime himself reflects on this kind of judgment earlier in the books. He notes that people remember what he did, not why he did it. His reputation as Kingslayer is built the same way. Stoneheart's memory functions exactly like the realm's memory of Jaime. It freezes him in the moment of his worst acts and refuses to move forward. That is why this meeting is structurally important. It brings Jaime face to face with a character who embodies the judgment he has been trying to outgrow. Despite this, Jaime is uniquely positioned in a way no other character is. He is the only living person who can speak truthfully about Ned Stark's final days from inside the Lannister side of events. He's also one of the few people who understands how deeply Ned's honour shaped the choices of others. Jaime remembers Ned confronting him in the throne room. He remembers Ned refusing to compromise even when it cost him his life. Later, Jaime reflects on how Ned's rigid honour contrasts with the flexibility of southern politics. This matters to Lady Stoneheart because Ned Stark is the fixed point in her memory. Ned is the standard by which she judges betrayal. If truth still has any weight with her, it will only be truth connected to Ned. Jaime is not likely to be believed, but he is the only one who could even attempt to speak to that standard. Brienne is not merely a courier in this confrontation. She's a living reminder of Catelyn Stark's former values. Brienne's oath to Catelyn was rooted in protection, not vengeance. She tried to save innocence. She tried to keep faith even when the world around her collapsed. When Stoneheart forces Brienne to choose between her oath to Jaime and her oath to Catelyn, the choice is deliberately cruel. Either option breaks something. This reflects Stoneheart's worldview perfectly. In her mind, there are no clean choices anymore. Every path leads to loss, because mercy itself has become a mistake. Brienne's presence ensures that whatever happens to Jaime will not be a simple execution. It will be filtered through memory, guilt, and the ghost of who Catelyn Stark used to be. The outcome of this meeting affects more than Jaime's survival. If Jaime is executed, it confirms that the Brotherhood has fully abandoned any connection to justice as it once existed. It becomes a force of pure retribution, untethered from the values it once claimed. If Jaime survives, it suggests that even Lady Stoneheart has limits, that memory can still be challenged by truth, even in its most broken form. Either result resolves a long-running question in the Riverlands, whether the collapse of law inevitably leads to endless revenge, or whether something resembling judgment can still exist. George R.R. Martin has delayed this confrontation because it answers that question. It is not about forgiveness. It is about whether the story allows characters to be more than the worst thing they have done. That is why this meeting has been built so carefully, and why it has not happened yet. If you are interested in The Lord of the Rings or A Song of Ice and Fire, click one of the links on the screen to dive deeper into the lore. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you next time.